Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into how one single sentence out of the White House gave a political lifeline to Israel's prime minister and, at the same time, made a brutal war in Lebanon even more intense. So, let's break it all down.
Right. It all kicked off with this. Just one sentence. When the U.S. president threatened a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, that critical choke point for global oil, it was a direct shot at Iran. And believe me, these weren't just words. This was a move that sent shockwaves rippling across the entire region, like immediately. So while other world capitals were, reacting with total alarm, the response from Tel Aviv was, well, completely different. It was satisfaction. And to understand why this huge escalation was actually welcome news there, you have to get into the immense political pressure cooker one man was in.
And that man, of course, is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. See, at this very moment, he was backed into a really tough political corner at home. So when the U.S. president made that statement, it must have looked like a potential lifeline.
And this really shows you the problem he was facing. It's this huge gap between the promise and the reality. Netanyahu went into this conflict with one massive, high-stakes goal: to finally solve the Iran-enriched uranium issue. But after the ceasefire, well, that goal was nowhere near met, and he was getting absolutely hammered by criticism back home.
So instead of backing down under all that pressure, what did Netanyahu do? He doubled down, hard. He comes out publicly, aligns himself with Trump's aggressive talk, reinforces his own tough guy stance on social media, and then puts the military on high alert. The message he was sending couldn't be clearer. This fight is not over. Which kind of begs the question, right? Why this desperate need for more time? It isn't just about political posturing. And to really find the answer, we have to shift our focus from the Prime Minister's office to what was actually happening on the battlefield. Yeah, this political desire for a longer war, it's directly tied to a very difficult reality on the ground. The war in Southern Lebanon had stalled out for Israeli forces. Now, Israel's stated military goal here was, incredibly ambitious. The plan was to push deep into Lebanon and take control of all the territory up to the Litani River, creating this huge buffer zone. But the reality on the ground, well, that was a whole different story. Despite having just devastating air power, the ground invasion was grueling. It was slow, and they were met with fierce resistance. They got seriously bogged down in one key town in particular. And that town is Bint Jbeil. It's only about 5 kilometers from the border, but it's considered this ideological and symbolic fortress for Hezbollah. And for weeks, despite all the intense fighting, the Israeli army just could not secure it. And to really get why this one town matters so much, you gotta look back to the year 2000. That's a crucial date. After an 18-year occupation, Israel pulled out of Lebanon. And where did Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, give his famous victory speech? Right there, in Bint Jbeil. For Hezbollah, this place is basically hallowed ground. And look, this wasn't just spin from their enemies or something. This difficulty, this failure to capture this symbolic town, was publicly admitted by Israel's own chief of staff. That's a pretty stunning admission of the challenges his forces were up against. So what you've got is this perfect storm, right? You have political desperation in Tel Aviv crashing into a military stalemate in Lebanon, and the whole thing gets supercharged by this threatening rhetoric from Washington. It has set the stage for what is going to be an incredibly critical few days ahead. Okay, so here's a quick look at what's coming up. Tomorrow, Israel's security cabinet is meeting, and they're almost certainly going to make their next move based on Trump's statement. Then, get this, on Tuesday, there are actually peace talks scheduled in Washington. And all of this is happening while the grinding war continues on the ground. And that just leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? We're literally watching a collision course between high-stakes diplomacy and the brutal reality of war. And it's all being fueled by leaders who might actually see their own political survival in making the conflict bigger. So are these talks the last real hope for peace? Or are we just watching the prelude to a much, much larger fire?